Good afternoon and welcome to the afternoon update on Money FM 89.3. And welcome to those of you joining us on social media today on Facebook, our LinkedIn, as well as our YouTube channel. I hope you're having a wonderful Friday. Great to be back with you as we come to the end of the working week. I'm Rachel Kelly and I'm joined in the studio, of course, by the wonderful Hongbin Jung, our finance producer.
Hello.
And Raushan, who's just to my left in the studio, if you're watching on social media, helping us make the show sail as smoothly as possible as we head into the weekend. We've got a wonderful hour and a half coming up for you here on the afternoon update. In just a bit in Money in the Market, we're going to be joined by the one and only Geoff Howie, market strategist at the SGX. He's going to join us for a wrap of highlights this week when it comes to major market moves. We've seen a bit of a roller coaster ride in global, regional, and local stocks as well. He's going to give us some of the highlights there. Just after that, at 2:40, we're going to be joined by Paul Foster, local actor. Many of you may be familiar with him. He's working on an exciting new oceans plastic project. So that's coming up at 2:40. He's going to tell us all about that, as well as what his weekend plans are, because it is Friday after all. In the 3 o'clock hour, we're going to be joined by the two founders of Cloversoft. Guess what they did? They gave up their day jobs. And when I say gave up their day jobs, they gave up a 5-figure take-home salary. I'm talking monthly take-home salary to start this consumer brand. Would you do that? Well, we're going to find out what happened to them when they did. That's at 3:15 as well. We'll, of course, have the latest news and market moves for you every half hour as well. Hongbin.
Hello.
So I've got a question for you before we go into Money in the Market.
What's the question? I'm a bit scared. Are these rapid fire questions again?
Yeah. Did you go to school purely during the social media age?
Yes, I think so. I think Instagram came into light when I was in high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
So most of your growing up period has been documented on social media.
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, we're going to tell you why we're talking about that in just a bit, coming up in Money in the Market with Geoff Howie.
Keeping stock on Money FM 89.3. Money in the Market on Money FM 89.3.
Well, it's time for Money in the Market here on Money FM 89.3, our first one broadcasting to you on social media as well. So if you've got any questions on this week's market moves, let us know in the comments below as well. You can also text us 88550893. I do have the studio phone right here in front of me, so I'm keeping an eye out for your texts. Okay. Well, what a week it has been for markets. And the reason that we were talking about Instagram, social media. Hongbin highlighted this article earlier on of Elon Musk. College photos, memorabilia of Elon Musk have been auctioned for, drumroll please, how much?
$165,000.
Okay, Hongbin, so what exactly is on auction here?
So basically, there was a gold necklace with a small green emerald that Musk had given to Gwen, who was his ex-girlfriend, in late 1994 as a birthday present. So that birthday present was sold for $51,000. Would you pay $51,000?
I guess these are major Musk fans, right, that are looking to get in on this memorabilia. Let's find out what Geoff Howie thinks. Hi, Geoff Howie, market strategist at the SGX. Great to have you with us. Geoff, we're going to take a look at markets in a minute, but did you catch this Musk headline?
Yeah, not really. I was buried in the SGX corporate announcement pages. Sorry, and I didn't really.
Of course, and rightly so. That is where you should be. And let's take a look at where shares are today. The SDI currently in the red, 0.14% lower at 3,263 points. Rather, we've got decliners leading the pack, 243 to 189. What are your thoughts on this week's performance of the STI, Geoff?
Well, actually, it's been quite flat when you look at where we opened on Monday morning through to where we are now. That 3270 level is pretty much the story. We did spend the majority of the time I guess in a slightly more wider trading range than we've seen in recent weeks. So the majority of the time has been spent between 32.95 and 32.50. But as I said, at 32.70, we're essentially flat on the week. Within the STI, your strongest constituents have been Yangtze Jiang Shipbuilding, Gunting Singapore, and Jardine Cycle and Carriage. So that trio of stock have actually averaged 6% gains over the week. But on the other side, you have Mapletree Logistics Trust, Mapletree Industrial Trust, as well as Sembcorp Industries leading the STI decliners. That trio have actually averaged a decline of 3%. So the REITs make sense because that's measured, and globally, REITs have been the weakest sector across the global sectors. So there's obviously a reason for that. But for Sembcorp Industry, its share price did come off a little when the UK energy cap was announced. So that has impacted the price. You might recall in FY21, I think the UK made up around 11% of Sembcorp Industries' revenue.
Right.
But nonetheless, yeah, the stock's at $3.25 now. It was at $3.50 earlier in the month, and of course ended last year at $2.
And
But
we have
yeah,
we have Hayton Land as well, and the group announced a joint venture to raise funds for renewable energy products. And Hayton Land is also the most actively traded counter by volume today, right?
yeah. It is among the top ones, as is Gunting Singapore and Sembcorp Marine. So Gunting Singapore has been, I guess, the most active by volume, and really has been moving with, I guess, a few of those hospitality plays, because we're getting some good news on COVID globally this week as well. We spent a couple of days with global official cases below 500,000 cases a day, as reported. And going into this week, that had only been the occasion for something like a dozen days so far this year. And I think last in June it was there. And then, of course, Sembcorp Marine is by definition a highly traded stock, I guess. What I mean by definition is that it is our 25th most traded stock on a day-to-day basis by trading turnover anyway. It does have very wide bid, it does have pretty high dollar values on its bid and offers at any one time. In fact, if you take the REITs out of it and just look at the companies, last week, Sembcorp Marine had the highest dollar amount on the bid, highest dollar amount in the offer as on average throughout the week. So it is a highly traded stock per se. So business as usual for those two stocks. And then, as you say, the Hatton announcement also has attracted attention.
Geoff, we also had some data out today. Singapore's key exports rose as a whole in August, with electronics shrinking for the first time since November 2020. What's your take on the data?
Yeah, just like the industrial production numbers, we are expecting some basing element to come in, particularly with electronics. But the growth was pretty strong at 11.4%. So that's what, the 21st consecutive month of some year-on-year increases. So that continues to be pretty strong. Obviously, very important for our economy, because that trade and not just the. I'm speaking too fast. Sorry, but a
lot of thoughts going on in your mind, Geoff.
I know,
We can tell there's so much going on. Yeah.
But the relevance of global trade to the Singapore economy, it does parallel into our stock market quite a lot. We have a number of companies that are generating revenue outside of Singapore, as well as basing their assets there. So this number is important, but I think pretty much into expectations. As we said, we are expecting some basing, and the outlooks for the electronics sector, as we saw with the PMI numbers, especially for electronics, we did see a little bit of contraction in that sentiment.
It also seems like SGX Group also released a fiscal year 2022 annual report this week. Any surprises there you want to highlight?
Yeah, I think, well, I've joined SGX in 2011, and when I joined it, this business really had its core strengths in equities and derivatives trading. And I guess one thing that I found really, I guess, not so much surprising, but very heartening, is the growth in the business units outside of those two traditional core streams. I mean, business units, they now include equities, They include the fixed income, commodities and currencies. They also include the data connectivity and indices unit, with all those three business units supported by a client-focused global sales and origination business as well. So there's the four core business elements. Now, FICC, the fixed income, commodities and currencies, as well as the data and connectivity and indices, they have continued to build and build through acquisitions and organic growth. So much so that FICC and DCI, it accounted for 36% of our total revenue in the last FY, and so that's FY22. Now that's up from 21% back in FY16, and FY16 was the year that our current CEO also joined SGX. And I can vividly recall among those first internal town halls, he relayed that we had to become more agile and grow new business streams under our mandate to build the Asia's premier multi-asset and multi-asset pan-Asia exchange. So it's been quite heartening, as I said, to see the CEO and my colleagues really successfully diversify our business. We now maintain the largest and fastest growing currency futures market in Asia. We have an extensive suite of commodity products, and we're known now as the leading offshore iron ore risk management hub. So I guess not so much as a surprise, but that's one that I've taken a lot of interest in following during my journey at SGX. And as I said, successfully diversifying the business by promoting those non-traditional businesses, the FICC and the DCI, has certainly been a big highlight.
Wonderful. We're speaking with Geoff Howie, market strategist at the SGX. A lot happening over at the SGX as well. A number of announcements this week when it comes to disclosure as well. Geoff and your colleagues at SGX Regco have been extremely busy as well. But I want to move now just away from the exchange to talk about what's been happening in the US. A lot of data out there to digest, and that's had a ripple effect on markets across the globe. Let's start over and talk about the inflation figures and PPI numbers that were released earlier this week. Were they in line with your expectations? We saw markets respond quite strongly to them.
Yeah, the thing is, PPI was in line with expectations, but CPI was not. And CPI, the actual breakdown of the numbers in the US CPI report, it did strike a chord with what the Fed Chair Jerome Powell had said at the end of the previous week at that Cato Q&A session that was streamed, that a lot of people have watched, and that is the concern that it was inflation expectations fueling inflation. And we saw that because energy prices had come off, but what we saw is price indices for a whole multiple of different services, anything from medical care to motor vehicle insurance, all these different aspects of Main Street, if you will, seeing price increases. So it was that I guess granularity in the report that I guess did move the market somewhat.
And also next week we can expect the US Fed's interest rate decision, and based on these data and looking at these data, where are you placing your bets now that more key data has been released?
Yeah, so the US interest rate expectations for the entire of 2022, or what remains of it, they are as hawkish as they have been so far this year. It's, I guess, there's an FOMC blackout period at the moment, which always happens 2 weeks before the next Fed FOMC meeting. So that blackout period came into effect on Saturday night, and it stops on Thursday night, this coming Thursday night, when we have the FOMC meeting. 2 a.m. the result will be Singapore time, and then 2:30 a.m. is the press conference. Now, the expectations for the interest rate, they have morphed. We were, this time last week, we were 90% majority expectations for a 75 basis point hike. We were 90%. Now we're 75% expectations for that.
Okay.
And 25% expectations for 100 basis point hike. So all in all, when you look at where the pricing is, there's 3 more Fed meetings for the rest of the year. There's the 21st of September, there's the 2nd of November and the 14th of December. And we expect as much as 200 basis points of hikes between now and then, which would take the rate to 425 to 450 basis points at the end of the year. But there's also, like you said, there's not just data, but there's also other moving parts. You've got midterm elections in the US. You've got Martin Walsh, who's the US Department of Labor Secretary. You've got Jennifer Granholm, the Department of Energy Secretary. There might also be some type of structural initiatives in the US as well that might look to address some of those drivers of inflation. Because you might remember Jackson Hole, the first thing Jerome Powell said was that much of this is supply driven, and we need to take some supply driven type of solutions into the inflation driver as well.
That's right. Geoff, so other than that, what else are you looking out for in the week ahead?
We have CPI, our own CPI report for August due on Friday next week. And we can obviously talk about that in the program then. We also have China's 1 year and 5 year loan prime rate settings next week. We have the Bank of Indonesia meeting, and they are expected to raise rates, I think, by 25 basis points to 4% based on their inflation outlook. For corporate actions, we have Top Glove reporting next week. We have ex-dividend for UniAsia Group as well as Riverstone Holdings. And then, as we said, the big ones, the FOMC press conference, 2:30 a.m. Thursday morning, with the decision made 30 minutes before at 2 a.m.
Okay, so Geoff, one last thing before we let you go. We're going to do something a little bit different today. So Hongbin and I have thought that we've been, Hongbin watches the markets day in, day out, as do you. And we took a look to see what stocks we want to keep an eye on in the week ahead, not necessarily because we think they're going to go up, but because we think perhaps there's an interesting story to tell there. And then we'll check in with you next week to see how they have indeed performed. And we can have a chat about the overall sector that they're linked to. So I'm going to share with you the stock that I'm going to be watching this week, and it's AIMS APAC Real Estate Investment Trust.
Oh, fantastic. Mr. Russell Ng and George Wang.
That's right. Any guesses why?
Yes.
I'll tell you. Well, of course you know. What am I saying? Well, I was going to say, we've seen the news that they've partnered with SP, and they're installing rooftop solar photovoltaic systems across 6 of their industrial logistics and warehouse properties by December next year. And they're the first one to do this. And, just because we've been tracking sustainability on the show, I'm interested to see how a move like this might impact that particular unit, well, their units. But also, we've been tracking REITs across the board as well. You mentioned it earlier on in terms of how REITs have been performing.
Yeah, they had been underperforming this week, which is expected on the change in that interest rate outlook. But in the quarter to date, it's actually the logistics REITs that across Asia Pacific had shown some marginal outperformance, at least just for the last 6-7 weeks or so, compared to the overall REIT market.
So I'll be keeping an eye on them, and we'll have a chat about it next Friday. Hongbin, who are you watching?
Well, you had something so specific. For me, I was just going to check in on DBS for next week. I mean, we're having those US interest rate hikes next week, and obviously there's a lot of expectations for another jumbo hike. And I mean, I'm placing my bets on the 75 basis points. I don't know about Geoff, but so I think, it will be interesting to see how Singapore banks react to that. So I will be keeping an eye on DBS.
And that's
the 3
always
local banks.
Yeah. DBS is our most traded stock on a day-to-day basis, and the retail investors as well. Back in 2020, I think there was net retail inflows of $1 billion in 2020, net retail outflows of more than $1 billion in 2021, and the volume weighted average price back in 2020, I think it was in the mid $21 range, and then back to $28 in 2021. So that stock is certainly one that is traded by the retail market, and we have seen that's as probably one of the bigger trades we've seen over the last few years here in Singapore.
Okay. Well, Geoff, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today to break down all this week's market moves. It's always a wonderful chatting with you and having you on the show.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you, Hongbin.
Thank you.
Thank you. Geoff Howie, market strategist at the SGX. He will be back with us next Friday at 2 p.m. to break down all the latest market moves. Stay with us here on Money FM 89.3. We've got the news coming up in just a bit. But for those of you who are with us on social media, we've got a bit of music. So we're going to take a bit of a break and we'll be back with you for the news.
The afternoon update brings you the latest news and views to keep you informed. Tune in Monday to Friday.
afternoon. I'm Melissa here. Moderna's Spikevax COVID-19 vaccine is expected to arrive in Singapore at the end of this month. The new bivalent vaccine was granted approval by the Health Sciences Authority for use here 2 days ago. The bivalent vaccine is so named as it targets two strains of COVID-19, the original SARS-CoV strain as well as the Omicron BA1 variant. The interim authorization allows it to be used as a booster for people aged 18 and above who have already received their primary series vaccination. More details of the shipment will be announced in due course. Singapore's key exports rose as a whole in August, but electronic shipments contracted for the first time in nearly 2 years. According to data from Enterprise Singapore released today, non-oil domestic exports or NODX grew 11.4% year-on-year last month, faster than the previous month's 7% expansion. On a seasonally adjusted month-on-month basis, however, NODX shrank 3.9% in August, undoing the previous month's growth. Exports of electronic products fell 4.5% year-on-year, the first decline since November 2020, compared with the 10.3% growth in July, and that's due to a drop in shipments of integrated circuits, disc media products, and parts of PCs. Old may be gold, but silver is the new black. That's the name of a catwalk show tomorrow at Raffles City Shopping Centre that will feature only models aged 50 and above. The show is part of the fashion festival named #Fashtag. It's a key event for this year's Singapore Design Week, which takes place from today to Sunday next week. And the lineup is quite star-studded, including 60-year-old former supermodel Pat Kroll, who in her heyday worked for the top fashion houses in Paris. The creative director behind the fashion festival, including the Silver is the New Black show, is Daniel Boy, nicknamed the godfather of Singapore fashion. The Chinese president's stance against the spread of COVID-19 continues to be the toughest in the world and extends to himself when outside his country. In Uzbekistan's Samarkand city for a China and Russia-led regional security summit, President Xi Jinping and his delegation stayed away from non-work essential activities, such as group photographs. He even skipped a dinner attended by 11 heads of states, which included Russian President Vladimir Putin and Turkey's Tayyip Erdogan. The 22nd summit of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization is the first in-person gathering and also Mr. Xi's first foreign trip since the beginning of the pandemic.
Those were your news headlines from the Straits Times. Date check.
We've made it to the weekend. It is Friday, the 16th of September.
Traffic.
Taking a look at what's happening out on the roads, we've got an obstacle on the PIE towards Tuas. That's after Upper Jurong Road. Avoid lane 2 there. A vehicle has broken down in the CTE tunnel towards the AYE. That's just before Havelock exit. We've also got a vehicle that's stalled on the TPE towards the PIE. That's before the PIE exit. Avoid lane 1.
If you see anything on the roads that we might have missed, you can share it with us via SMS or WhatsApp at 8855-0893. But please send the message through only when you are safely parked. Helping you grow your money on Money FM 89.3.
You are listening to Money FM 89.3 and watching us on social media. We are on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Thank you to all of you who are joining us again today. Hello to Aiden. We've got Brian. Good to see you again. And Alicia as well. Hope you're all doing well this Friday. Thanks for coming back and tuning in and having a look and seeing what we're up to in the studio today. As I mentioned, we do have Paul Foster joining us in just a bit. And after that, in the 3 o'clock hour, we have the founders of Cloversoft. But first, let's head over to Hong Bin for a market update.
Money FM 89.3. Financial updates from the Business Times.
Good afternoon. I'm Hong Bin Jung with your finance news update. So with some 15 million Singapore dollars of tax provisions to be made on the balance sheet of UMS Holdings' third quarter fiscal year 2022 results, CGS CIMB is estimating the semiconductor company's fiscal year 2022 earnings per share to increase by 20.8%. And the brokerage has raised its price target to $2.17 from $2 $2.03 previously, while maintaining its ad call on the stock, citing UMS's EPS potential. CGS CIMB's revised price target remains based on 15 times the stock's fiscal year 2023 EPS estimates, which is 2 standard deviation points above its January 2017 to August 2022 price to earnings multiple. It, however, assumes a potential fall in fiscal year 2023 to 2024 tax rate to 13% versus the CGS CIMB's previously assumed 18.6%. DBS Group Research has reinstated coverage on HR Net Group with buy and a target price of $1.08. It believes the recruitment company is well poised to benefit as a dominant player in a fragmented market as Singapore's labor market remains tight. The research team's target price of $1.08 implies a potential upside of 37.6% from the counter's last trading price as at the midday trading break. And the company's valuation has been also viewed as attractive at 11.5 times DBS's estimated fiscal year 2023 earnings, with 312.7 million Singapore dollars in cash. And the dollar hovered near its recent peaks on Friday as expectations that the Federal Reserve would need to hike more to tame inflation sent Treasury yields higher and kept the greenback in demand. The towering dollar pushed the offshore yuan past the critical threshold of 7 per dollar for the first time in more than 2 years overnight, with the yuan hitting a trough of 7.035 in Asia trade. And the onshore unit similarly broke the key level soon after markets opened today and last traded 7.0095 per dollar. Let's take a quick look at how markets are faring. The Straits Times Index is down by 0.1% at 3,263 points. Japan's Nikkei closed down by 1.1% at 27,567 points. South Korea's Kospi closed down by 0.8% at 2,382 points. Hong Kong's Hang Seng is currently down by 0.7%. Shanghai Composite Index is down by 1.8%. And looking at commodities, Brent crude oil is up by 0.5% in current trading at $91.26 per barrel.
Those were your financial updates from the Business Times. This is Money FM 89.3, Singapore's most influential radio station. Get up to speed with all the news and information you need to confidently make the decisions for your business and personal finance with the Breakfast Huddle, Your Money, 12 to 1, the Afternoon Update, and Prime Time. Every weekday on Money FM 89.3, Singapore's most influential radio station. The Afternoon Update, only on Money FM 89.3.
Thanks for staying with us here on the Afternoon Update on Money FM 89.3. This Friday, great to be with you on social media as well. Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, as well as to all of you listening in on your radio. So it is Friday. What have you got planned for the weekend, Hong Bin?
Me? Because tomorrow's Saturday. You know what I planned.
You don't say laundry. Don't say laundry. Raushan's laughing. Laundry. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I've got some tips for you. Okay, this weekend. A number of events happening. We've got the LKY musical that's returned to the stage at the Sands Theatre, and it's on now until the 2nd of October. It's got music by Dick Lee, and the musical spotlights the early days of Lee Kuan Yew from his student days all the way up to Singapore's independence. So that's on this weekend if you want to go check that out instead of doing your laundry, Hong Bin. There's also the Waves of Change Festival. So you can go and dive into this fascinating watery world at the Waves of Change Festival at the Art Science Museum. It's happening from now until the 9th of October. So maybe save this for next weekend. Okay. And the festival will give you a new perspective on both the ocean's wonders and its predicament.
Oh, do you have to bring a change of clothes?
Are you wondering if you're going to have to do more laundry?
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of waves of change, we're joined now by somebody who's making waves of his own in more ways than one. We've got with us on the line Paul Foster. Many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with him. Paul, how are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Great to
Okay.
have you with us this Friday.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's our absolute pleasure. So, Paul, I want to hear more about All Clear, but before we get there, since Hongbin shared that she's up to laundry this weekend, what are you up to?
It's a busy weekend. I've just come back from Project Homeworks, which is what I do with Habitat for Humanity. So we just cleaned a HDB flat for an elderly gentleman. Yeah, so still wearing. I changed into the shirt now, but that was with in partnership with Timberland, which is another brand partner I work with. So they wanted to do a cleanup, a corporate cleanup, and I literally just got back. I jumped in a shower, quick shower, came here to set up and speak to you guys. So rush, 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 which is great. And then tonight it's Oktoberfest at the Swiss Club.
Oh,
So it's going to be lots of beer and lots of partying out tonight, which means tomorrow I'm going to be home for most of the day. And then I have to go to Swapaholics because I'm selling some of my clothes at the my marketplace by Swapaholics, which is about circular economy in that sense. You know, not going and buying new fashion items when you can buy pre-loved fashion items. So that's really cool. And then Saturday, I'm doing a run for the Race Against Cancer, because that's something that I've supported for a very, very long time. And then a barbecue, and then that's pretty much my weekend.
my goodness, Paul, I think you're putting us to shame over here. Seeing Hongbin, she
I'm
lists
just
laundry.
doing
So now,
laundry.
okay, Hongbin, you need to take a
Yeah.
leaf out of Paul's book, okay? I want to hear next week about what run you're doing next weekend, Hongbin.
Yeah.
Set the bar too high.
Well, you got me on a good weekend, I must say.
No,
I mean, even today, we're dropping off our foster kittens to friends of mine who are going to adopt them. So that's what I'm going to do right after this. We got very lucky that they're going to get adopted after being with us for almost 3 months. So
have you
again,
grown attached to them, Paul?
a little bit, yes, but you know, we've got 5 cats of our own as well. So we've got a full house with those and the dog. So yeah, we try not to get too attached because obviously we want to find them a great, loving new family to actually spend their entire lives with now.
Oh, that's wonderful. What a wonderful interview to end the week on as well, right? So feel good, Paul. Thanks for joining us. Okay, now we got to get into the interview after
Yeah.
all of that. So, I mean, you've mentioned that you're going to go and do a clothing swap, and we're very interested in sustainability here on the show. It's a key theme for the afternoon update. We have eco money, we have sustainable Singapore anchor segments for our show. And I was fascinated to read about the All Clear initiative that you actually work on. Maybe you can share with us what exactly All Clear is.
Yeah. Well, back to what you guys are doing with sustainability as one of your pillars. Awesome. Thank you, guys. And I heard that you have Cloversoft coming on next. Great local brand, by the way, which I have a lot of their products as well. I do my laundry with their pods, so that's good.
Did you see
but-
Hongbin's ears prick up as soon as he said laundry?
Exactly.
Hongbin,
Exactly.
I feel for you.
exactly.
I feel for you.
I'll add laundry to my list for this weekend as well. So don't worry.
Thank you.
All Clear. Yeah, we started that in 2019 with a very, very dear old friend of mine whose family business is shipping. So as part of one of their I guess portfolios, they do the coastal cleanups of Singapore. They have the government contract to do that. So it became hey, why don't we actually take what we know and how we operate and go overseas into the region and help other countries or cities or districts with their cleanups, whether it's coastal, river, reservoir, lagoon, lakes, all that sort of stuff. So our intention was to actually go abroad to help. Obviously, 2020 came and kind of blew that out of the water, no pun intended. And we couldn't quite do that, unfortunately. But we still do a lot of domestic initiatives in Singapore itself. Again, the main company, the parent company, has the rights to do it anyways, right? That's contract. But we've got the manpower, we've got the vessels, we've got the knowledge, the expertise, and the experience. So we still like to take corporates out onto the vessels and show them how we do it. A lot of awareness and educational programs and campaigns. And now we're starting to build up towards being able to go overseas to do some cleanups as well. So Bali, for example, is one where we've got a river identified where we can go and do a river cleanup over there, hopefully with the Potato Head team, because they're very, very big on sustainability as well. They have a whole sustainability lab over there, which is amazing. So they could be our on-ground partners over in Bali for that.
Paul, I was checking out the social media for All Clear before the interview. Well, I was following it before the interview as well. I followed it for some time. And some of these photos are, I don't know how to describe them. I'm just going to hold this up to the camera so our viewers on social media can have a look as well. Look at the amount of plastic there. For our listeners on Money FM, I'm just holding up my phone to show the plastic waste on the All Clear _. Instagram account. You'll want to go and check it out. It must have been such a journey for you, Paul, and also for your partner with All Clear in terms of collecting this waste. What's the most memorable moment for you? Because I'm looking at these photos and I'm sure each of those must have just been such a milestone event to kind of be involved in cleaning that and clearing that, seeing a before and after as well. Leaves such an impact.
Yeah, I've been on a few cleanups now on our vessels just to obviously get the experience, and doing it for Singapore Social. We went out there and did it for Singapore Social, which is great. And I guess it's always memorable because you get out there and you're going for a cleanup, and obviously you go there with the intention to do the work, but you secretly hope that maybe there is no trash to clean up because that would be the ultimate result. Now, when it comes to ocean debris and trash, it's very dependent on the monsoon and the tide. So obviously within our waters, we get a lot of trash from the north and the south. It's some crazy stat like 80% of all ocean rubbish and trash comes from mainland. It's quite ridiculous. So obviously through rivers out into the ocean, it just floats around, follows the tides and the current, and ends up on coasts or in specific areas in different oceans where the current kind of kaleidoscopes together. So I always want to go out there thinking, oh, there won't be anything to clean, but there always is, unfortunately, and it's never ending. So every time we get out there, it's just doing our part, and a little bit of effort goes a long way. So for me, it's always memorable. I guess there are times where you go out there and it's like, oh wow, the tide wants to come in today. It must have really swept a lot of stuff in, because like that picture you showed, Rachel, it's astoundingly terrible when you're there and you don't even see the water anymore. It's literally an ocean of plastic and rubbish. And I've had a couple of times going out and seeing that, and it's heartbreaking. But it really does stick into your mind, and you're thinking, okay, this is why we're here, and this is why we're doing what we're doing.
And we do have a comment or question from a viewer here from Alden. Yeah. Anyway, our listeners or our viewers, and including me, can be part of this initiative as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We're starting to open up a lot more volunteer and corporate sessions. I think that's the one way we felt that we could really have an impact to not only show the problem of what's happening, but obviously show the solution, because that's what we have to do, right? And a lot of times human nature, out of sight, out of mind, you don't really realize how bad the situation is. And you think, oh, Singapore's so clean.
Right.
And we are. It is. And we are. We're very lucky we have such a fantastic infrastructure when it comes to waste management. There is no doubt about that. But it also kind of, on the other side of the coin, it's like sometimes I feel like we're in a bubble and we take things for granted. And we're always like, oh, never mind, someone else is going to clean it up. It's all good. It'll always be taken care of. And to a certain extent, it is. But I still feel like we all have a role to play in terms of reducing, recycling, reusing. I mean, the typical 3 R's, right, that we've been learning for so long. But there's so many other, R's that have come out. Rethinking and it is one big one right now, because we need to change our mindset, and we need to just get a lot better with over consuming at the moment, and being a little bit more eco-conscious.
That's right. And I think just to answer Alden's point as well, the Singapore Environment Council has a wonderful beach helpers initiative as well. If you want to go over and check that out, you can go over and sign up and join one of their beach cleanups too, in the east coast of Singapore.
Yeah, there's beach cleanups all the time. People always ask me, oh, how do we get involved? I said, actually, you can go anytime on your own and just start picking up trash. But if you want to be part of a community and all that, I know, for example, tomorrow, Ocean Purpose Project are doing one at Pasir Ris Park in the morning, because it's World Cleanup Day. So that's an initiative that a cleanup that they're going to do. I'm doing one next week for Decathlon on Thursday at East Coast Park. I'm lucky I live quite close, so it's very easy for me. But there are various groups and various organizations that are going around and doing it. So sometimes you just have to find out where these communities are and see whether you can be a part of it.
And Matilda from Ocean Purpose Project is joining us on the show next Thursday as well.
Oh,
so it'll be wonderful to have a chat with her and see what she's been up to. She's just won an award.
Yeah. So we're all in the same space.
Yeah, definitely. So, Paul, I've got to ask you though, how much plastic have you actually collected under All Clear since it started?
Wow.
Have you measured it?
It's a lot. I don't know the figure off the top of my head, because on our website we do have it there. Collected since 2015. It's quite a big number, but again, All Clear only started in 2019. So when we circle back to 2015, it was when the data was getting collected under my friend's cleanup in terms of the government contract. So my friend Mark, again, old friend of mine, he just came up to me on National Day like 2018 and was like, I want to do something like this, because we've got everything at our disposal to do it, but I just don't know really how to do it, and you're my one friend that does all this sort of stuff, so can we work together for it? And I was like, absolutely yes. So again, they've been doing it for a while. I believe on the website we do have a stat there, but obviously since we launched All Clear, we haven't really had the full momentum to go out and do big cleanups under our umbrella, so to speak. But we're in the tons. We're in the tons.
Hong Bin, our numbers girl, is here. She watches the markets for us and anything loosely related. So there we go.
Yeah.
So she's got the
wow. There we go.
Hong Bin, you want to read out for us? What's that? Where are we at?
Oh my gosh.
23,988,000 kilograms.
and it's nonstop. Yeah, it's nonstop, guys. I would love to have you guys come out and again just come on the vessel and see how we do it. And we're literally filling up, big skips. Those skips that you have, to put all that are on the back of a rubbish truck from a construction site. I mean, those are like up to 3 tons, one to 3 tons, depending on what kind of rubbish you're putting into there. And I mean, those get filled up pretty quick.
That's phenomenal. Well, and Mark, you're mentioning, is that Mark Coe?
Yeah, Mark Coe.
Shout out to Mark as well.
So
congratulations on your journey. Yes.
We're all connected, right?
Yes. Okay. Well, Paul, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. It's been absolutely wonderful having you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. And again, I'll be in touch and we'll get together and we'll go out and do a cleanup together.
And get Hongbin doing something other than laundry on the weekend, please.
Sign me up.
Oh, well, if you need any help this weekend, you need to join anything I'm doing, just message me and we'll figure something out.
I definitely will.
Wonderful. Thank you. We've been speaking
All right.
with Paul Foster. You take care, Paul. Have a wonderful weekend and get some rest in there.
I will. You too, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We've been speaking with Paul Foster on Money FM 89.3. We've got the news for you coming up in just a bit. But for those of you joining us on the radio, we're going to take a break for a bit of a song. For those of you joining us on social media, take a break, take a drink. Be back with us in the news at 3 p.m.
Music Movements on Money FM 89.3.
In the business news, UK retail sales fell at the sharpest pace in 8 months in August, and a crucial part of the US Treasury yield curve risks inverting even more to a level last seen in the early 1980s. We'll have the details for you coming up in the business news in the next hour. Stay with us here on Money FM 89.3.
Keeping you in touch with the world. Money FM 89.3. Money FM 89.3. News headlines from the Straits Times.
Good afternoon, I'm Melissa Hyak. The number of reported workplace injuries in Singapore, both major and minor, fell by 7% up by around 20% to 28 from 23 over the same period last year. And the construction industry is responsible for the highest number of workplace deaths and major injuries, with 10 fatalities and 84 cases of major injuries. The Ministry of Manpower and the Workplace Safety and Health Council say they have stepped up enforcement efforts in the construction industry. Moderna's Spikevax COVID-19 vaccine is expected to arrive in Singapore at the end of this month. The new bivalent vaccine was granted approval by the Health Sciences Authority for use here 2 days ago. The bivalent vaccine is so named as it targets two strains of COVID-19, the original SARS-CoV strain as well as the Omicron BA1 variant. The interim authorization allows it to be used as a booster for people aged 18 and above who have already received their primary series vaccination. More details of the shipment will be announced in due course. Homeowners of a 3-bedroom apartment at Arc at Tampines have been evicted after the Executive Condominiums Management Corporation Strata Title, or MCST, forced sold the unit at an auction in April. The couple had repeatedly failed to pay management and sinking fund bills, which amounted to around $36,000 at the time of the sale. Now, forced sales are very rare and fraught with legal and other complications, but the MCST had apparently run out of options. Under the Building Maintenance and Strata Management Act, the MCST has the power to force the sale of a unit to recover money owed. The Chinese president's stance against the spread of COVID-19 continues to be the toughest in the world and extends to himself when outside his country. In Uzbekistan's Samarkand city for a China and Russia-led regional security summit, President Xi Jinping and his delegation stayed away from non-work essential activities, such as group photographs. He even skipped a dinner attended by 11 heads of states, which included Russian President Vladimir Putin and Turkey's Tayyip Erdogan. The 22nd summit of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization is the first in-person gathering and also Mr. Xi's first foreign trip since the beginning of the pandemic.
Those were your news headlines from the Straits Times. This is Money FM 89.3, Singapore's most influential radio station. Time check on Money FM 89.3.
Time now is 3:03 p.m.
Weather.
Cloudy across Singapore's skies this Friday. Taking a look into the weekend, though, you're going to want to keep that umbrella handy. We've got thundery showers mainly over northern, eastern, and central Singapore forecast in the late morning and early afternoon tomorrow.
Weather report brought to you by Mitsubishi Electric. Mitsubishi Electric StarMax Aircon saves you energy and money, is easy to clean, and is the quietest.
Traffic.
Taking a look at what's happening out on the roads, a vehicle has broken down on the PIE towards Tuas. That's just after Stevens Road exit. We've also got a vehicle that's stalled this time on the TPE towards the PIE before the PIE exit. Avoid lane 1 there. And an accident on Lornie Highway towards Queensway after McRitchie Viaduct.
If you see anything on the roads that we might have missed, you can share it with us via SMS or WhatsApp at 8855-0893. But please send the message through only when you are safely parked. You're with Money FM 89.3. The afternoon update, only on Money FM 89.3.
You're listening to the afternoon update on Money FM 89.3 or watching us on social media. Hello again to all our friends on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Hope you enjoyed that short break and the news. Coming up this hour on the show, we're going to be speaking with Angela Sim and Lynn Yeo, who are the co-founders of Cloversoft. They gave up quite significant salaries in investment banking to launch the brand. We're going to find out why, how, and what has been happening since they did. Hongbin, would you give up a significant salary like that to start a brand?
I don't know. I think I need to be able to have that 5-figure salary first to know if I want to give that up to start a passion of mine.
Just a reminder, our boss is listening.
Hint, hint.
Okay. But before we get there, let's just take a quick look and check in on where markets are this hour.
Money FM 89.3. Financial updates from the Business Times.
Singapore shares currently in the red, reflecting the trend that we're seeing across the region. Taking a look at the STI, currently down 0.28% at 3,258 points. We've got decliners leading the pack today, 268 to 191 advancers. In terms of volume for the day so far, 859 million securities worth $694 million have changed hands so far. So since we're speaking about markets, and we had Geoff on earlier talking about inflation, it's been a key focus of ours, obviously, for over the last few weeks. This article popped up on CNBC that I thought was quite interesting and wanted to share it with all of you. It is how to save money as food prices continue to rise on the back of inflation. They highlight the 5 top tips for saving on groceries. Hongbin, what do they say? How can I save on my groceries? It's getting more and more expensive.
Yeah. So the first thing you got to do is you got to scrutinize the sales. So generic brands could be, 10% to 30% cheaper than their premium counterparts, but name brands may be even offering bigger than usual discounts right now to maintain their loyalty. So it pays to pay attention to price changes. The second thing you got to do is to plan your meals. So when you plan your meals in advance, you're more likely to just buy things that you actually need. But if planning's not your thing, then just at least go shopping with a mindset to, have an idea of what you'll be choosing or making for the rest of the week so that you don't buy unnecessary things. And the third thing is buy in bulk. So when it comes to the rest of your items on your list, you can save more by buying in bulks, and that always helps. And you don't really have to go to the grocery store so often. Just buy what you need. And fourthly, use a cashback app is another choice. I mean, I think I've seen a lot of ads on Instagram on cashback apps. So if you want to check out what cashback apps there are, you can do that. And lastly, pay with the right card. Some banks offer, cashbacks with certain supermarkets nationwide. So you should check that out to pay with your right card. And those are the tips that you may want to follow if you want to save your money.
I've got another tip as well. You might want to watch out for shrinkflation. I know we spoke about shrinkflation a few weeks on the show, and that's when your bang for buck goes a little bit less, doesn't go as far. And what I mean by that is you're buying a product, say, for example, your laundry detergent. You've always bought the same package of laundry detergent. You know how much it costs. It costs the same. Perhaps you're not seeing inflation there because the price tag hasn't changed. But guess what? The size of the packaging may have changed. And this is something that consumers are really worried about. So if you are looking to ensure that you are continuing to get more bang for your buck, check those labels, guys, when you are heading to the supermarket, and make sure that that 500 ml bottle of whatever you're buying is still 500 ml. It's not 450 ml at the same price tag. Maybe, as Hongbin mentioned, look for an own brand product as well, something that may be comparable, a little bit cheaper, but still has the same volume. So watch out for shrinkflation too. Okay, that's enough of our market update for now. Coming up next, we're going to be joined by the founders of Cloversoft. Thank you for staying with us here on Money FM 89.3.
This is Money FM 89.3, Singapore's most influential radio station. Keeping you company through your workday. Money FM 89.3. The View on Money FM 89.3.
You are listening to Money FM 89.3. I'm Rachel Kelly. So, would you give up a comfortable 5 monthly figure salary to start a consumer brand? Well, our next guest did just that. They gave up their roles in investment banking to found Cloversoft. You may be familiar with it. It's a local bamboo tissue brand. We are joined now on the line and on your social media screens by Angela Sim and Lin Yo, co-founders of Cloversoft. Thank you both so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Great to have you with us. So I'm going to ask you, what was that catalyst moment that made you change your mind and change your careers?
Right. Okay. So, I was in banking and then I was covering the Chinese market. That's where Cloversoft sought for our bamboos. And I was introduced to a businessman, and we were so fortunate that he connected us to an inventor. And this is an inventor that's invented the unbleached bamboo technology. So from there, we had a very long discussion and all, and then at the end of it, I was so excited. So I told the inventor, okay, look, for Cloversoft, can you turn it white? I want it white. So he asked, oh, do you want to bleach it white? I said, yes, I do want to do that. And then he looked puzzled. In Singapore, all our tissues are white in color. So then, and he was like, okay, if you want, we can do that for you. And then, my friend, the businessman, interrupted and why do you want to do that? Why do you want to use white and chemical filled tissues? I don't even use that for my family anymore. So instantly knocked into my mind, oh my gosh. So then we decided that, okay, so for Cloversoft, we'll use the unbleached bamboo technology to create our tissues. And also the moment I first touched that tissue, I was like, oh, it's extremely durable. And also now, with the concept is totally unbleached. There's no chemical. It's natural. For bamboo, it's the original color, inside is that shade of color. It's brown.
So I've got to ask you though, you gave up a 5-figure take-home salary each month to do this. What gave you the faith or the belief that this is something that was going to work for you? Because right now we've been talking on the show about inflation, possible recession looming next year. We've just come out of a we're still in the midst of a pandemic, but we're hopefully at the tail end now. Uncertain times. Lots of people want to hold on to those big salaries.
So Rachel, you're absolutely right. Actually, for Angela and myself, before we started Cloversoft together, we have been colleagues for a very, very long time. In fact, I was my 10th year in HSBC when Angela approached me with this opportunity. She came to me, really excited. She said, hey, I met up with this scientist, and then they have this unbleached bamboo tissues. So at the point in time, Angela and myself, we were actually headhunted to join another bank. So it's actually at the crossroad for me instead. I'm thinking it's like either I continue my career in the banking industry or I move to a completely unfamiliar zone, but it's something that I would be passionate about. So that is where we both took the leap of faith and we started Cloversoft together, and we gave up the comfort.
We have a question from a viewer on Facebook from Arif, and he's wondering, how did your family and friends react for giving up a 5-figure salary?
Wow.
Okay, so my family, is we run a family business, which I'm not involved. When I left banking, I informed my mom on the day when I left, and she cried. She was really, really sad. Even though I grew up in a family business, so it was, I was surprised that she took it that way.
For myself, it's really hard to explain to my parents because toilet paper is not something that they think is glamorous. Like, why would you give up banking to do something like selling toilet paper? So I think it's about they don't understand. Why would you want to give out a stable income in a very stable environment to start something like toilet paper?
And eco-friendly, to be honest, was not big. It was purely toilet paper and tissue paper. That's it. And
And at that point in time, what was it like entering the market there? Because there was a lot of toilet tissue on the supermarket shelves, unless you're at the start of the pandemic and then the shelves go blank, right? But I mean, on a day-to-day basis, there is a lot of toilet tissue. So, I mean, what was the competition like? What were some of the challenges that you faced?
Actually, that time, in 2014, when we first started, where Angela approached me with this opportunity, I actually look around, and I realized that yes, we do have a lot of toilet paper and tissues in the market, but every single one of them is either made from trees, or pulp, or they are recycled papers. We do not have any alternative materials for toilet paper and tissue paper at that point in time. So we are like flushing down the forest. And if we do have alternative materials available, why not?
So when you say flushing down the forest, now you're using bamboo as an alternative. How much more sustainable is that, though? Are you now flushing down bamboo forests instead?
I'm glad that you asked this question. For bamboo, it takes about 2 to 3 years for it to mature, and it's actually a type of grass. And we'll be very happy to share with you that our type of bamboo, the one that we use at Cloversoft, are not food sources for the panda. And on top of that, they're highly regenerative. It means that the more we harvest them, the faster they grow. So versus trees, the moment we can't harvest them, we can only chop them down. And when that happens, it will take another 20 to 30 years before another tree can be matured for production. Yeah.
And I understand you go all the way through the cycle of the product. So you also work with farmers. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So for this, so imagine when we are stepping out and then we see an empty field. So over there we see a lot of bamboos. So they are wild, and also all these farmers live around. They are very, very poor, and they live around these bamboo plantations, and they will just harvest them and then send it to our production site, and then that's how they can earn money. So last time what they do is, they will sell like apples, and then you see like 10 farmers selling apples and all that, and they'll go home with almost no income. But with our production and all, we are providing jobs to the poor farmers around the plantation. Yeah.
Okay, and moving on from farmers and the tissue, I understand that you've also now branched out into other products. Can you tell us more about that? How has your brand now evolved?
Oh, definitely.
Definitely,
Yeah,
new products always keep us very excited, and that's what motivates us.
Yeah.
We started with 2 products, the bamboo tissues and the toilet rolls. And after that, we move on to our antibacterial baby wipes and our baby wipes and our antibacterial wipes. We have since extended into other products like our plant-based laundry detergent pods and new products such as our soluble floor cleaning sheets. So it's actually like a one sheet piece of paper, and then you just dissolve in a pail of water, and you can use it to mop the floor. So no more heavy lifting of all the big plastic bottles. So we're trying to reduce waste and yet make everyday cleaning very easy and very fun for everyone. So Cloversoft, we focus on safe and eco-friendly product that's made for everybody, including our furry friends, your cats, your dogs. We want to surround people with Cloversoft from the time they wake up to when they go to bed. Encompassing their daily life with products they can trust in terms of quality and effectiveness. Our business growth has always been about togetherness, how we can all come together to inspire planet change.
We're speaking with Angela Sim and Lynn Yeo, the co-founders of Cloversoft. I'm curious, so you're talking about different end-to-end cleaning products, and you also ensure that they're recyclable. Do you have any plastic involved? And if so, what do you do with that? How do you overcome that challenge?
Okay, so for all of our packaging, we ensure that if they are plastic, they are 100% recyclable. And also we have a couple of products that are packed in paper packaging. So, that let us remove the plastic aspect of packaging. And also we have one toilet paper that is also colorless. Not sure whether you guys have seen it before. And so there's no core, the one that we put in the toilet with holder.
Yeah.
So we do away with the core because the core is a waste. So then we remove it, and then we pack them into a carton, like the carton box directly. So that again allow us to remove plastic packaging.
Yeah, and we're really
Oh.
fortunate. Yeah, sorry, Rachel, to interrupt. And we're really fortunate to have hotels like Conrad. They actually work with us to come up with plastic-free facial tissue options for all their guests in their hotel rooms. So for hotels like Conrad, we come up with the paper packaging facial tissues that has zero plastic, and it's easy for them to refill in their rooms without causing unnecessary wastage.
And now we have Hilton Hotel coming on board already as well. Yeah, to make the switch.
Lots of partners for you, but perhaps we can kind of rewind a little bit. I mean, we're now almost post-pandemic. What impact did the pandemic have on your business? Did that lead to the catalyst for more product offerings?
It definitely did, because for Cloversoft products, we are singing the tune. Everyone now, we are aware that there are germs and bacteria around, and for Cloversoft, we are plant-based yet highly effective. So, over the years, we have built many sales channels, and with that, then the sales just expanded, in all these channels. Yeah, it did help.
So I understand that you also have a relationship with Polar Bears International. Can you tell us how that works?
Okay, so we, at the very beginning of when we are still creating the products and then starting the packaging and all, I was on a flight back to Singapore, and I chanced upon a documentary, and from there I learned that our polar bears, they are dying because of climate change. And with that, one morning I was running, and then I stopped, and then I contacted Lynn. I said, hey, we can we try to start saving the polar bears? I explained that we are not sure whether this business venture can actually become sustainable or successful, but if we could start, at least we could leave a mark, and impact, in having able to have saved, be part of saving the polar bears. So then we connected with Polar Bear International in Canada, and fortunately, they could understand Cloversoft values, and they agreed for us to partner up. And since then, every pack of Cloversoft sold, we donate part of the sales proceeds to save the polar bears. Yeah.
So what was the inspiration behind the brand logo, though? Because your brand logo is a polar bear.
Yeah. So good that you asked. Actually, Cloversoft is a combination of two words, the clover and the soft. So clover is a very interesting plant. It requires no chemicals to harvest and lesser water and fertilizers compared to other plants. And clover also provides nitrogen to help the plants surrounding it to thrive. So they will all thrive together. So at Cloversoft, this is exactly what we want to achieve: togetherness, and everybody can grow and thrive together. So that's why we wanted to inspire planet change together. And the soft relates to the gentleness of our products. So that's how Cloversoft came about.
And I guess you know what they say as well: if you find a 4-leaf clover, it's lucky, right?
Yes, exactly. And we also hope to bring love and luck to our customers.
Okay, no, but why the polar bear?
Why polar bear?
Okay, so we at the start, we were already a partner. Even before the product was finalized and out, we were already a partner of Polar Bear with Polar Bear International. Okay. So then we thought that a lot of people in Singapore don't really know polar bears, and we only have one, Inuka, and it's gone now. So then we thought, okay, the pride of the polar bear is there, but in Singapore, so far away, we are not really familiar with that. So then this was one of the mission that we set out, like maybe gradually Singaporeans will, and in Asia, will understand more about polar bears, and we can try to help, and and etc. So that's why this polar bear is really to kind of educate, or like show Singaporeans.
Yeah, but it really started because of the documentary that Angela has watched. I think it inspired her a lot, and it created this mission in us to partner with Polar Bears International, and that's the reason why we have the polar bear logo, the mascot in our packaging.
And what's next for your brand? I mean, you recently also raised a 7-figure sum in seed funding from Apricot Capital. What do you plan to do with the capital?
So Hong Wei, what we are trying to do here is to globalize Cloversoft. So the plan here is to start offices in, let's say, within the next 3 to 5 years in 3 other countries. We are extremely excited about America, which works are being done, and then the next 2 countries that we are looking at this moment will be Indonesia and Vietnam. So with this fundraise, that's what we are looking at doing, and also further product extension. Yeah.
We've also got a question that's come in from Arif, one of our listeners as well.
Yeah.
And they've said, that's amazing. Are there any other business ventures Cloversoft is looking at in the future, similar to the partnership with Polar Bear International?
Oh, Afis, thank you for asking this.
Good question.
Yeah, good question. We started with Polar Bears International,
Yeah.
but we have since moved on to other organizations as well. We always ask, people in our community, our colleagues, our co-workers, our customers, what inspired them. So to different people, they are inspired by different things. For Angela, she started with, Polar Bears, but Angela is an animal lover.
Yeah,
For myself,
please.
I'm into recycling. So our colleagues, our community, there are people who are into, mental health wellness and stuff like that. So at Cloversoft, what we want to do is to support every single mission that inspired everyone. So we have since worked with animal shelters as well as BOS.
It's orangutan. These orangutans they lost their homes because of poaching and because of deforestation. So this organization, they will pick the babies up, or the mothers, and then they will bring them to this plot of land that they had purchased, and then to house them and make them better, and then after that hopefully to release them back in the wild. Yeah.
Yeah, and right now we are on mental wellness. So we partner with celebrities like Fan Wong, Calista, to talk about the importance of caring for oneself.
It is, because you got to care you have to care for yourself before you can care for others. Isn't that right?
Exactly.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, we'll leave it on that note. Thank you both so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's been wonderful to speak with you and find out more about the brand. We've been speaking with Angela Sim and Lynn Yo, co-founders of Cloversoft on Money FM 89.3. Thank you again to all of you joining us on social media. We hope you've enjoyed the week with us on the Afternoon Update. We'll be back with you again next week on social media from 3 p.m. Monday to Friday. Of course, join us on your radio. We've still got half an hour left of the Afternoon Update. And then, of course, our wonderful colleagues from Primetime will be up next at 4 p.m. as well. You are listening to Money FM 89.3.
The Afternoon Update brings you the latest news and views to keep you informed. Tune in Monday to Friday from Money FM 89.3. Money FM 89.3.